Greetings, my name is Gershan Barnard, and from my understanding, today is I think the 18th of November. If I'm correct, I obviously don't know, but if I'm correct, today and then tomorrow, that means the 18th and the 19th of November in the year 2024. Now, it is the day where you're supposed to go out and register in order for you to vote. Okay, so I think I'm just going to give my perspective, my unsolicited opinion in this regard. Now, when I say opinion and I talk about regards, like what am I referring to when I say in this regard? Essentially speaking, today I'm going to be talking about politics. Okay, politics. All right, so I'll give my view, my perspective. Yes, in this regard. Now you know that the regard issue is the political stuff. So here goes. Now, I'm not a fan of politics. I'm absolutely not a fan of politics, okay? Okay, let me explain what... It's difficult for me to speak on this because you have so many other different opinions out there, okay? So it's difficult, but nonetheless, this is my view and that's what I'll be sharing with you, right? If you look at politics from an academic perspective, politics from an academic perspective, one could say that it's some sort of a societal necessity, meaning it's a necessity in society. A necessity in what sense or in what context, okay? A necessity in the context, you have a tax system. It's basically the gathering of money, okay, in this case, right? And once you've gathered this money, now you have to distribute or redistribute. In this case, I'll say distribute. Yeah, redistribute because you are distributing money all the time, but I'll just say distribute. Okay, meaning you now have these scarce resources and now you have to distribute them. Okay, and then the people who would do this, we call them politicians. Okay, the game in which this phenomena of the redistribution of scarce resources is playing out, we call that game politics. Not the game politics, but that act, it's a fundamental political act. Okay, yeah. So obviously when I say this, it's a spectrum and I'm referring to one of the segments in the spectrums. Okay, I'm not going to talk about the whole spectrum today. I'll just talk about a segment just to give context. Okay, right. How efficient this is being done, blah blah blah. Obviously I don't care about that. You see, right? Okay. One of the politicians recently made a claim. The claim they made was, we are going to give a graduate grant. Okay. So I'm listening to this. I'm like, oh, okay, you'll give a graduate grant. That's awesome. It's awesome, but remember, I come from a engineering background, meaning I try to look at things in a way in which I believe to be objective. Okay. Now, when I say objective, I'm referring to a type of thinking applied to the thing, the subject in this case, okay? Right. I'm trying to be objective when investigating and making a conclusion with regards to a subject. Objective, subjective, okay, right. Subject, subjective, right. Look at it like this, long story short, look at it like this. Let's say you plan on giving graduates a grant, okay? In order for that to even be said, there's an underlying assumption, okay? For you to say that, it means you have the knowledge at your disposal, the knowledge, the information as to say how much money is available, okay? So it means that you have the knowledge at your disposal as to say how much is available. That's the first thing. Because I cannot say that I will give you something if I'm not sure the thing to give is available. In this case, is in abundance. abundance, available. Those two, they go hand in hand, right? That's the first thing. What is the second thing now? The second thing is, if I say I'm going to give the graduates a grant, it's fine, okay? Now here's the other thing now. For me to give you a grant talks to the money aspect. Money aspect, it speaks to the availability aspect of these funds from which you'll give. Okay, so that's one dynamic, that's one component, that's one calculation, okay? Then, subsequent to that, now you need to know how many graduates are out there. Because let's say you have 10 rand. Your intention is to give 1 rand to every graduate. In order for you to do that, there should be a maximum of 10 graduates. Okay? But now what happens if there's 50 graduates? Then it means that this thing that you are saying, you are speaking from a place of deep ignorance, and that makes what you are saying very dangerous. Because now it's a situation of you've reached a limitation of not necessarily your ability, but of your knowledge, but you're not aware that you've reached that point, and that makes what you are saying very dangerous. Okay? Now, what am I saying? What I'm saying is, for what you say to be true, for it to be true, 1, you need to know how much money is available. Okay? 2, you need to know how many graduates are in the market. In this case, unemployed graduates, because you plan on giving them money. Okay? Alright? Now, here's the third thing. The third thing is, you also need to know the rate at which these graduates are produced annually. If you don't have access to that information, remember, if I say I'm going to give 10 rands to these graduates, simply meaning there's 10 unemployed graduates, I plan on giving every graduate 1 rand. There's 10 graduates. What happens if next year there's 25 graduates? I'm sitting with a 10 rand budget of 1 rand per graduate, but now unemployed graduate, but now there's 25 of these unemployed graduates. How now do I deal with this situation? Okay, so these are some of the mathematical impediments that you now run into. Because here's the thing, this year there might be, let's say, 100,000 unemployed graduates, but because of whatever, next year there might be 300,000 or 400,000. So if that were to be the case, how will you then deal with this situation? Okay, and the reality is, I don't think that a politician is competent, is capable, or is able to deal with a problem of that nature. And remember, this is just one problem. Okay, I don't think that politicians are capable or able to deal with such a problem. But now here's the thing, why would you want to go and take on such a problem? Why? It can only be because of ignorance. It can only because you are overestimating your own capabilities, your own capacity. Okay? And obviously there's nothing wrong with overestimating the things that you are capable of, but now the problem is you are doing that at the expense of a bunch of what I can now call innocent victims. Because these people, they will now vote for you with the hopes as to say, no, this politician, they will deliver. But then now here's the problem, because the people who are voting for you, they themselves don't understand the nature of the problem. They themselves will vote for you out of ignorance. So it's basically you have one incapable, ignorant individual voting and empowering another incapable and ignorant individual, and then 10 or 5 years down the line, now you have a country that's in deterioration. But then why is it like that? That's because the person who was voting, they were not critical in terms of thinking. They were not thinking about the issue in a critical sense, as to say, no, I'm willing to vote for your initiative, but do you have these numbers? What if this and that were to be the outcome a year or 2 from now? How will you deal with that? What plan, what strategy do you have in place? Because that's what politicians largely are. They're a bunch of people who, they give lip service, and they talk far more than what they do. When I say do, I'm referring to these fancy things that they promise. So yeah, so that's just one dynamic, one perspective with regards to the political domain that I've been sitting and that I've been thinking about, is to say, the people who do go out and register to vote, are they mindful of such dynamics? I'm not saying they should be. I'm just saying that when you vote, the assumption is the assumption is that you are competent to make such a high quality decision. The assumption is that you know what you are doing. And up until this point, if you look at the state that South Africa is currently in, I don't have faith in the decision-making capacity of majority of these voters. Some would say non-voting, yeah, individuals, but yeah,